Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me closely. Let's talk about something most people ignore until it's too late. Muscle wasting. You don't need to be in your 60s or 70s for this to start happening. In fact, the process can begin as early your 30s if you're not intentional. You might look in the mirror and see the same reflection, but inside, your body is quietly losing strength, power, and energy every single day. Now, here's the good news. You can stop it. You can reverse it. You just need to give your body the one nutrient it's starving for. That nutrient is called leucine. Leucine is like the ignition key in your car. It doesn't matter if you have fuel, protein, carbs, fats. If you can't start the engine, you're going nowhere. Without leucine, your body doesn't trigger muscle protein synthesis, the process that builds new muscle and repairs old muscle fibers. You can eat all the protein in the world, but without enough leucine, your body just doesn't use it properly. So what do? Simple. You add leucine-rich foods to your dieting: eggs, lean chicken breast, grass-fed beef salmon, whey protein, and even cottage cheese. These aren't just good sources of protein. They contain the right amino acids in the right amounts to actually stimulate growth. And here's a key tip. Timing matters. After a workout, your body is in a state of opportunity. This is when it craves nutrients for recovery and growth. This is when leucine shines. You want to get at least 203 grams of leucine in that first post-workout meal. It's not just about getting bigger muscles. It's about protecting your brain, your bones, and your longevity. Muscle is a survival organ. Lose it, and everything else starts to break down. Keep it, and you stay sharp, strong, and capable, mentally and physically. So if you're tired of feeling weak, if you're noticing strength slipping, if you want to build a foundation of energy, confidence, and health that lasts into old age, start with this one change. Add leucine. Stop muscle wasting. Start rebuilding your future. Most people think muscle loss is something that only happens when you get old, like in your 60s or 70s. But the truth is, muscle wasting can start much earlier than that. In fact, research shows that you can begin losing muscle as early as your 30s, especially if you're not actively doing something to prevent it. This loss isn't always dramatic at first. It starts slow. You might notice you're not as strong as you used to be. You get tired a little faster. You don't recover from workouts like you once did. Maybe you used to lift groceries or climb stairs with no issue, and now it feels just a bit harder. That's muscle loss creeping in. Gradual, but very real. Muscle tissue is metabolically active, meaning it requires energy to maintain. And your body is efficient if you're not using that muscle. If you're not challenging it, it sees no reason to keep it. It starts breaking it down and reallocating those resources elsewhere. What's worse is that this process happens faster if you're sedentary, stressed, or undernourished, which is the case for many people in modern life. Long hours at a desk, skipped workouts, poor sleep, processed foods. All of these speed up the decline. What makes this more dangerous is how hidden it is. Unlike fat gain, which you can usually see or feel, muscle loss doesn't show up right away. But inside your body, things are shifting. Less muscle means lower metabolism, weaker bones, less balance, slower reaction time, and even decreased brain function. You become more vulnerable to injury, fatigue, and disease. The body becomes more fragile, physically and mentally. And this isn't about vanity or just looking good. It's about survival. Muscle is protective. It stabilizes your joints, supports your posture, keeps your immune system strong, and helps regulate blood sugar. Losing it puts you at risk for a wide range of problems, from insulin resistance to cognitive decline. The problem is, most people don't realize it's happening. They think, I'm still young, I'll worry about this later. But mindset is dangerous, because the earlier you start losing muscle, the harder it is to get it back later. And the longer you wait to address it, the steeper the climb becomes. You don't need to be a bodybuilder to care about this. This isn't about aesthetics. It's about function. It's about having the strength to live a full life, to move with freedom, to avoid the slow decay that pulls so many people into a life of pain and dependence. The good news is you can stop this process. In fact, you can reverse it, but you have to start paying attention now, not tomorrow, not next year. Now, muscle responds quickly to the right signals. Resistance training, proper sleep, good nutrition, and especially the right nutrients. One of the most important of those is leucine, which we'll get to later. But before you worry about what to add, understand what you're up against your own biology. After age 30, the average person loses 38% of muscle mass per decade. That adds up. And if you don't do anything to slow it down, the effects start to pile on. Low energy, weakness, poor posture, slow metabolism, and more. What feels like getting older is often just unchecked muscle wasting. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, or even 50s and haven't thought about this yet, it's not too late, but it is urgent. You have a window right now where small actions can create massive change. But you have to take this seriously because your strength isn't just about today. It's about the decades ahead. If you want to stay independent, sharp, mobile, and resilient, you need to protect your muscle like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Your body is constantly breaking down and rebuilding itself. Every cell, every tissue is in a state of renewal. When it comes to your muscles, this balance between breakdown and rebuilding is called muscle protein turnover. And here's the critical piecing. If the breakdown happens faster than the rebuilding, you lose muscle. Over time, that leads to weakness, fatigue, and a host of health problems. But if you can tip the scale the other way, if you can help your body build more than it breaks down, you gain strength, resilience, and energy. And there's one nutrient that plays a leading role in making that happen. It's called leucine. Leucine is an essential amino acid, meaning your body can't produce it on its own. You have to get it through food. It's not just any amino acid. Leucine acts like a signal. Think of it like flipping on a light switch. When enough leucine is present in your bloodstream, it sends a powerful message to your muscle cells. It's time to grow. It activates a specific pathway in your body called mTOR, which is short for mechanistic target of rapamycin. This pathway is like the command center for muscle building. Without leucine, that command center stays quiet. No signal, no growth. Even if you eat a meal that's high in protein, if it doesn't have enough leucine, your muscles won't respond the way they should. That's why some people work out consistently, eat what they believe is enough protein, and still don't see results. They're missing the spark. They're missing the switch. And that switch is leucine. Now, here's what's important to understand. Not all proteins are created equal. Some foods have plenty of protein, but are low in leucine. For example, many plant-based proteins like beans, lentils, and grains contain amino acids, but they're relatively low in leucine compared to animal-based sources. This doesn't mean you can't build muscle on a plant-based diet, but it does mean you have to be much more intentional about getting the right amounts and combinations. On the other hand, foods like eggs, chicken, beef, fish, whey protein, and dairy are rich in leucine. These foods naturally provide the amount your body needs to trigger muscle growth. To actually activate muscle protein synthesis, the process where your muscles grow and repair, you need around 2 to 3 grams of leucine in a single meal. That's roughly what you get from a serving of whey protein, a few eggs, or a piece of chicken breast. Spreading your protein intake throughout the day helps, but the most important time to get leucine is either after a workout or during your first protein-rich meal of the day. That's when your body is most responsive. That's when your muscles are hungry for growth signals. Let's be clear. Just eating more food isn't enough. Just lifting weights isn't enough. Your body needs the raw materials and the right signals to make those efforts count. That's where leucine steps in. Without it, your efforts are muted. With it, they're amplified. Leucine also helps preserve the muscle you already have. As you age, your body becomes less sensitive to the signals that build muscle. This is called anabolic resistance. It's like your muscles become a little deaf to the usual cues. But leucine can help overcome that. It speaks louder than other amino acids. It tells your muscles, even the older ones, we're not done yet. It's time to grow. So if you're serious about stopping wasting, you need to understand how this works. It's not about blindly eating more protein. It's about eating the right protein in the right way, at the right of time. And leucine is the key ingredient in that formula. It's what flips the switch. It's what tells your body, now we build. Most people believe that simply eating enough protein is the solution to building muscle and preventing muscle loss. It's a common belief. Eat more chicken and drink a protein shake, and you're set. But what they don't realize is that not all protein is created equal. In fact, without a specific type of amino acid in the right amount, your high-protein meals could be doing far less than you think. That amino acid is leucine. Without enough of it, the body struggles to actually use the protein you eat to build and repair muscle. So yes, you might be eating enough total protein, but if the leucine content is too low, your body can't make full use of it. It's like having a construction site with plenty of bricks and wood, but no workers to assemble it. The raw materials are there, but nothing gets built. Your body doesn't store protein the way it stores fat or carbohydrates. Every meal is an opportunity to trigger a response. Specifically, a process called muscle protein synthesis. That's the scientific term for what happens when your body builds new muscle tissue. The catch is this process doesn't just turn on automatically when you eat protein. It requires a threshold amount of leucine to be present in your bloodstream. If that threshold isn't met, even a large protein-rich meal can fail to trigger the process effectively. So if you're eating a meal with 30 grams of protein, but it contains only a small amount of leucine, your muscles may not respond the way you think. This is especially important as we age. Young people tend to be more responsive to lower doses of leucine. But as we get older, we develop what scientists call anabolic resistance. That means our muscles become less sensitive to the signals that tell them to grow. The only way to overcome this resistance is by increasing the intensity of the signal. In other words, you need more leucine, not just more protein overall, but more of this specific amino acid to get the same muscle building effect you might have in your 20s. Let's take an example. Two people eat the same amount of protein, say 25 grams. One eats a plant-based source like lentils or quinoa, which are lower in leucine. The other eats a serving of chicken breast or a scoop of whey protein, both of which are high in leucine. Even though the total protein grams are equal, the second person gets a much stronger signal for muscle protein synthesis. Their body responds more efficiently. Their muscles are more likely to grow and recover. That's the difference leucine makes. And this isn't just about bodybuilders or athletes. It's about everyone, because muscle is not just about aesthetics. It's about metabolism, strength, mobility, and even longevity. People with more muscle tend to live longer, resist disease better, and recover from injury faster. But if you're not getting enough leucine, your body can't maintain or build that muscle effectively, even if you're doing everything else right. It's also important to understand that your body has a very short window in which it uses the amino acids from a meal to build muscle. This window as the anabolic window. And while it's not tiny as once believed, it's still limited. If your meal doesn't contain enough leucine during this window, the opportunity is missed. You've eaten, you've fueled your body, but you haven't built anything new. The protein gets used for energy or other processes, but not muscle. So the lesson is clear. It's not just about eating more protein. It's about eating smarter protein. Focus on quality, not just quantity. Include foods that are naturally high in leucine, like eggs, dairy, meat, and certain protein supplements like whey. Make sure each meal, especially after physical activity, contains enough leucine to trigger the muscle building process. Because if you don't, your body can't do what it's biologically designed to do: build, repair, and protect. Without enough leucine, your meals are just food. With it, They become fuel for strength. Building muscle isn't just about eating more protein or lifting heavier weights. It's about creating the right environment inside your body, one that encourages growth and repair. At the heart of that environment is a tiny but powerful nutrient, leucine. Leucine doesn't just support muscle growth, it activates it. It acts like a switch, triggering a specific pathway in the body that tells your muscles, now is the time to grow. That switch is known as mTOR, mechanistic target of rapamycin, and it plays a key role in muscle protein synthesis, the process your body uses to build new muscle fibers. Without enough leucine, this switch stays off, no matter how hard you train or how much protein you consume. Imagine your body like a construction site. You've got all the building materials, bricks, wood, cement, that represent the protein and other nutrients in your diet. But without a foreman to tell the workers to get started, nothing gets built. Leucine is that foreman. It gives the command. When you eat a meal that contains enough leucine, it tells your cells to start using the amino acids in your bloodstream to construct new muscle tissue. If that message isn't strong enough, nothing happens. Your muscles don't grow and your hard work doesn't translate into progress. This is why people can follow a strict workout routine and still see very little change in strength or muscle size. They're eating what they think is enough protein. They're staying consistent in the gym, but they're not flipping the switch. They're missing leucine. And without leucine, the muscle building machinery never turns on to the signals you give it. It's not that the body can't build muscle. It's that it hasn't been told to. The beauty of leucine is that it doesn't just assist in muscle building. It initiates it. Research shows that once you hit a certain threshold of leucine in a meal, around 2 to 3 grams, it activates mTOR and begins the muscle building process. This threshold is essential. If you don't meet it, the process doesn't start. That means you could eat a protein-rich meal that looks perfect on paper, but if the leucine content is too low, you're not getting the result you want. This makes leucine especially important after resistance training. When you lift weights or do any form of intense exercise, you create tight, tiny tears in your muscle fibers. This is a good thing. It's the stress that forces your body to adapt and grow stronger. But in order for that repair and growth to happen, your body needs the right signal at the right time. That signal is leucine. Post-workout, your body is incredibly receptive to nutrients. It's in a state of readiness. If you give it enough leucine during this window, you amplify your results. If you don't, that opportunity fades. Leucine doesn't just help you grow, it helps you hold onto the muscle you already have. As we age, our ability to activate mTOR and stimulate muscle protein synthesis declines. This is why older adults often experience muscle loss, even if they're active. But leucine can help restore that signaling power. It essentially turns up the volume on the body's internal messaging system, making sure the muscle building instructions are heard loud and clear. The difference between success and stagnation isn't always how much protein you eat or how long you train. It's whether or not you're activating the systems that allow muscle growth to happen. That's why leucine is so critical. It's not just a nutrient, it's a trigger. It tells your body to stop breaking down and start building. Without it, you're leaving gains on the table. With it, you're maximizing every rep, every set, every meal. So the next time you finish a workout or sit down for a protein-rich meal, ask yourself, am I flipping the switch? Because if leucine isn't part of that picture, your body isn't getting the message. And without the message, there's no growth. There's just effort. Wasted. Understanding how much leucine your body needs to stimulate muscle growth is crucial. Because too little and nothing happens, but the right amount can dramatically change your results. Your body doesn't just respond to the presence of leucine. It responds to a specific dose. Studies have shown that the optimal amount of leucine required to activate muscle protein synthesis, the process your body uses to build new muscle, is around each 2 to 3 grams per meal. This is the leucine threshold. Hit it, and your body turns on its internal muscle building machinery. Miss it and your meal, no matter how high in protein, may not be enough to trigger growth. What's surprising is how often people fall short of that threshold without realizing it. You might be eating what you believe is a high-protein diet, but if the sources of that protein are low in leucine, your muscles are still not getting the message to grow. For example, foods like lentils, brown rice, and some nuts contain protein, but their leucine content is low compared to animal-based proteins. So even if you're hitting 30 or 40 grams of protein in a meal, you may still be under the leucine threshold if that protein comes mostly plant-based or incomplete sources. On the other hand, animal-based proteins like chicken breast, eggs, beef, fish, and especially whey protein are rich in leucine. Just one scoop of high-quality whey protein isolate can contain about 2.5 grams of leucine, which is enough to trigger muscle protein synthesis on its own. A 3-ounce serving of chicken or a few whole eggs will give you a similar effect. These foods are dense, not just in protein, but in effective protein, meaning protein that your body can use efficiently for muscle growth because it contains the right amino acid profile. This is why protein quality matters just as much as protein quantity. 2 people can eat the same number of grams of protein in a day, but the one who reaches the leucine threshold in each meal will experience better muscle maintenance, better recovery, and more noticeable gains. It's not about total intake alone. It's about how each meal is structured. Ideally, every main meal you eat, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, should contain enough high leucine protein to hit that 2 to 3 gram mark. That gives your body 3 clear opportunities every day to build and protect muscle. For people over 40, this becomes even more important. As the body ages, it becomes less responsive to anabolic signals, including leucine. That means you may need to aim closer to 3 grams per meal, maybe even slightly higher, to achieve the same effect you would have gotten at a younger age. This is why older adults who continue to build or maintain muscle tend to be very intentional about their protein sources and meal timing. They know that precision matters more as time goes on. Even your training schedule plays a role. After a workout, your muscles are particularly sensitive to nutrients. This is known as the post-exercise anabolic window. During this window, getting 2 to 3 grams of leucine along with fast digesting protein helps you take full advantage of that heightened sensitivity. If you miss that opportunity, if your post-workout meal falls short, you miss a powerful chance to repair and grow. So what should you do? Start planning your meals around leucine. Don't just think in terms of eating enough protein. Think in terms of you eating the right protein. Track the leucine content of your meals. Include complete protein sources. Use whey protein strategically, especially after workouts or when you're short on time, and don't skip meals. Each meal is a chance to send your body the signal, build, repair, grow. Once you understand and apply the leucine threshold, your meals stop being just food. They become tools for transformation. That's how you stop muscle wasting and start building a stronger, more resilient body, one meal at a time. As we age, our bodies go through subtle but powerful changes. Changes that, if left unchecked, can lead to a slow decline in strength, mobility, and energy. One of the most significant of these changes is something called anabolic resistance. This simply means that your muscles become less responsive to the signals that tell them to grow. The same workout or meal that helped build muscle in your 20s just doesn't have the same effect when you're in your 40s, 50s, or beyond. But this isn't just an inevitable decline you have to accept. The right nutrient in the right amount can help overcome this resistance. That nutrient is L-leucine. Leucine becomes more important as you get older because your muscle cells don't hear the usual growth signals as clearly. Imagine shouting a message across a room. When you're young, the message is loud and clear. But with age, it's like the room gets noisier and your muscles need you to shout louder to hear the same command. Leucine helps amplify that message. It speaks to your muscle cells with more volume and clarity than other amino acids. It doesn't just contribute to muscle growth. It tells your body to start muscle growth. And that message is exactly what your aging body needs to maintain muscle mass. Losing muscle as you age isn't just about aesthetics. It's about healtho. Muscle mass is tied to your metabolism, your ability to regulate blood sugar, your balance, your ability to walk upstairs, stand from a chair, carry groceries, or recover from illness or injury. In fact, studies show that people with higher muscle mass in their later years live longer, recover faster, and experience fewer chronic conditions. So maintaining and building muscle as you age isn't optional. It's essential. But here's the truth: eating the same way you did when you were younger won't cut it. The body's reduced sensitivity to muscle-building signals means you have to be more intentional. You may need 80 more leucine per meal than you used to, closer to 3 grams per meal, and sometimes more depending on body size, activity level, and overall health. You can't rely on small protein portions or incomplete proteins if your goal is to preserve muscle and stay strong. Every meal needs to be deliberate. It needs to be built around the idea of reaching that leucine threshold. This is where many people make a critical mistake. They continue to eat lightly, especially at breakfast. A piece of toast and a coffee won't do it. That kind of meal doesn't even come close to providing enough leucine. If you skip protein-rich foods in the morning, you miss your first chance of the day to stimulate muscle growth. That's why it's so important to start the day with a high-quality protein source. Eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or a whey protein shake. These aren't just food options. They are tools to fight back against muscle loss. Exercise also becomes more valuable as you age, particularly resistance training. But again, the benefits of that training are magnified when combined with the right nutrition. A post-workout meal that contains enough leucine does more than just help you recover. It helps you grow. It helps reverse the trend of muscle loss that so often starts quietly in your 30s and accelerates through your 50s and 60s. But the combination of strength, training, and rich meals is a powerful solution. Leucine is not a magic pill, but it is one of the most reliable, science-backed tools we have to fight muscle wasting in aging. You can't stop time, but you can slow its impact. You can stay strong, functional, and independent if you take muscle maintenance seriously. That means moving your body with intention, eating enough protein with each meal, and making sure that protein includes a sufficient dose of leucine. If you want to age well, if you want to keep doing the things you love, stay out of the hospital, and live with energy and confidence, then leucine needs to become a regular part of your daily strategy, because muscle is not just for the young. It's for the wise, the experienced, and the determined. And leucine helps you keep it.